Hey, you Stygian Dogs. It's August 21st, and this marks the release of issue number 14 of Conan the Barbarian from Titan Comics and Heroic Signatures, titled Frozen Fate Part 2, The Daughter's Gaze. Jim Zub and Doug Braithwaite give us Part 2 of their homage to the Frost Giant's daughter, the Robert E. Howard story celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. As usual, we'll take our thorough look at the book, but first, while you go out and buy it, let's recap last month's issue and take a look at this month's covers. The young Cimmerian strikes out on his own, a spiritual sojourn of meaning-making. Absent the exaltation of Crom's call, Conan tests his mettle in the physical world, confronting beast and man. Having caught the attention of Ymir's daughter, he is unknowingly on the cusp of supernatural entanglement and the specter of a sorcery-filled future. And now, let's have a look at this month's covers. My retailer didn't have cover A by Jae Lee, but I did get the black and white variant. And then Rebeca Puebla's great cover B, followed by Doug Braithwaite's cover C. Cover D is by Stuart Sayger, and here's James Harren's cover E. Let's have a look at the unedited version too. Now, I'll note that Doug Braithwaite is giving us a quadriptych this arc, so be sure to grab each of his variant covers. And now, let's take a look at the issue itself. And here we go. I'll flip through the book, present a few close-ups of panels. I'll try not to read too much verbatim, but I will outline the general plot and happenings. I want you to be curious and to grab your own copy. Seriously, buy these comics. I want to give you a sense of how things look and to hopefully convey my excitement and a few summary thoughts. But be warned, if you want a pure reading experience, and I know you do, I would caution you about spoilers. If inclined, feel free to skip ahead to the conclusion. On the inside cover, we see an advertisement for John C. Hocking's excellent Conan City of the Dead. This collects the previously released Conan and the Emerald Lotus and the all-new Conan and the Living Plague. After you read Conan and the Emerald Lotus, I absolutely recommend reading Hocking's Heroic Legends Conan Short Black Starlight before jumping into the Living Plague. Opposite that, credits for the teams at Heroic Signatures and Titan Comics. On the next page, we again open with the Numidian Chronicles, a map of the Hyborian Age for wayfinding, the icy plain of Nordheim indicated, and a summary of events thus far. The daughter watches the men as tensions escalate towards violence, judging their smug confidence, seeing them as stupid, sneering animals, and yet they always seem to catch her eye. Conan the Barbarian, Frozen Faith Part 2, The Daughter's Gaze. Grim Jim Zub writer, diabolical Doug Braithwaite artist, dangerous Diego Rodriguez color artist, rascally Richard Starkings, and Comic Craft's Titanic Tyler Smith. Looks like Tyler's got a custom moniker now. Special thanks to colossal Kurt Busiek. We'll talk more about this later. And calamitous Chris Butera, editor. Her father tells her that the mortal are unworthy. Yet he listens to their prayers even if he leaves them unanswered, finding them too amusing to ignore. She watches these trespassers, their profane pursuits interrupted as a man of apparent authority demands they stand down. Amid Asgardian accusations and to the notice of the Frosted Watcher, a confronted Conan stands tall in spirit and declares that he was protecting what is his. The daughter watches in fascination as her predictions are defied. The Black Mane, rather than slain, is offered safe passage in exchange for 7 days' service and his haul of meat, an offer to which he agrees. The Gold Hairs are followed, watched as they feast on the beast felled by Conan, he of Crom's brutal bastards. Threatened by Vanir raiders, Conan tells of battle. 40 tribes united at Venarium, and unlike Ymir, no prayers are made to Crom. Who knows, perhaps the gods could care less. A wail of war horns, a call to battle, and the black hair is first to the charge, and first to behold the carnage. Fleeting, fragile, these mortals, tiny motes of warmth quickly quelled. Is it courage or cold ignorance that drives them? The damned red hairs making war on women and children and calling it a blood feud. Granted release, but Conan would not see Njord call him a coward. Looking quite the fierce warrior, as if he was born to it, but this is not how Cimmerians fight, weighted down. the Aesir move out. Ymir tests the will of these warriors, and a reminder that the gods can sweep everything away in an instant, yet they march onward. Is it the soaring spirit of the black-haired that drives them on? The Frost Father's first trial is served, when on this icy Nordheim plain the Vanir are spotted. So begins the second trial. A game of gods and mortals, a sacrifice sent on ice-laden altars bound in blood. Doug Braithwaite's awesome 2-page spread kicks off 6 pages of awesomely brutal blood-soaked battle. The icy plain serving as the perfect canvas for Diego Rodriguez's blood-spackled accents. The daughter watches the combat, its seamless and predictable cycle of slaughter as inevitable as the sun and moon. It's meaningless, and all will perish at the other's hand or be swept away by father's swirling snow. Why does she watch from afar? What is to be found in these stunted souls? But wait, she again spies the Cimmerian, eyes of ice and hair like midnight, his spirit burning bright. She will claim him. And the next issue, Gods of the North. And so ends issue number 14 of Conan the Barbarian from Titan Comics and Heroic Signatures. This series continues to surprise and satisfy, and at the close of this issue, the team brings us to the moment where Howard's story begins. So what happens next? How will the gods of the North thaw Conan's faith? What narrative choices will Zub make? Having re-envisioned Conan's path to the icy plain in Nordheim, how will he augment his parallel telling of the Frost Giant's daughter? From whose perspective will we watch? I'm certainly eager to find out, so join me in the conclusion as I offer a brief look at Kurt Busiek's prelude to the Frost Giant's daughter and highlight a few elements that Jim Zub respectfully retained in his telling. After that, I'll share some summary thoughts on the issue. On the opposite page, an advertisement for the Blackstone Saga. Starting in September, we get issue number 1 of Conan Battle of the Black Stone. Next week, end of August, we get issue number 4 of Savage Sword of Conan with Battle of the Black Stone tie-in. And this is kind of exciting. Towards the end of the year, we get a new novel from James Lovegrove, Conan, Cult of the Obsidian Moon. This is available for pre-order. Be sure to check out the link in the video description. Turning the page, we come to part 14 of Jeffrey Shanks' essay series, titled Gods of the North. The piece is prefaced with text from Howard's The Phoenix on the Sword. What manner of men are these northern folks? Asks Prospero of the men of Asgard and Vanaheim. Tall and fair and blue-eyed, their god is Ymir, the frost giant, says Conan. They fight all day and drink ale and roar their wild songs all night. Then I think you are like them, laughed Prospero. Jeff tells of Vanaheim and Asgard, collectively known as Nordheim, the lands of the red-haired Vanir and the blonde-haired Aesir. In his universe, Robert E. Howard uses these non-Hyborian peoples as the source of pre-Norse mythology. Fierce northern barbarian tribes led by Jarls constantly fighting with each other and their Cimmerian neighbors to the south. At the close of the Hyborian Age, Howard sees these people driven south by the glaciers of a mini-ice age, eventually to re-emerge as the ancestors of the Celtic, Scandinavian, and Germanic tribes. Influenced in part by Bulfinch's outline of mythology, Shanks notes that Howard took additional inspiration from Jack London's 1915 novel, The Star Rover, wherein the protagonist, like James Allison, remembers past lives and relates memories of being both flaxen-haired Aesir and red-haired Vanir. Shanks closes by highlighting Robert E. Howard's 1936 letter to P. Schuyler Miller, where he notes that Conan's first foray outside of Cimmeria was north into Nordheim, rather than into the Hyborian lands to the south. Almost certainly a reference to the second written Conan story, The Frost Giant's Daughter. Jeff promises to explore that seminal story more fully in the next issue. As always, Jeffrey Shanks' essays are a must-read for fans both old and new. After the essay, we come to a Q&A with the colossus of the coloring craft, Dangerous Diego Rodriguez. Rodriguez highlights some of his other work, speaks of his introduction to Conan via his father and the Arnold movies, touches upon the challenges in coloring Shadizar in the Thurian Age versus the Cold of the North, and closes with advice to aspiring colorists. It's nice to see Diego's work on the series celebrated and to get a personal glimpse of the artist. It's another must-read article. Turning the page, we come to the covers gallery. And then on the back cover, there's an advertisement for the Funcom properties. Jim, Zub, and team have been clear that issues 13 to 16 are an opportunity to build on the myth and magic of the Frost Giant's daughter, a story that happens to be celebrating its 90th anniversary this year. And the first two issues of this celebratory arc appear to serve as prelude to the events presented in Robert E. Howard's beloved tale, with the close of issue 14 seeming to set the stage for Conan's confrontation with Heimdall as the daughter is ready to toy with the Cimmerian and to claim him as her own. You may have noted in the issue credits that special thanks is given to Colossal Kurt Busiek. I reached out to Jim to ask whether this was simply an acknowledgement to Busiek's awesome work on his adaptation, or did it indicate something more? Zub confirmed that it's a tip of the hat to Busiek and acknowledgement for a few lines of dialogue he cribbed from issue number 1 of the Dark Horse run that he thought would work well in this different take. So let's take a quick look at the story differences, and I'll highlight the panels where we see the mirrored text. As we've just seen in Zub's story, Conan leaves Cimmeria, encounters the Aesir who wish to steal the prize of his hunt. Violence ensues. Njord appears on horseback to stop the fighting. He offers Conan amnesty in exchange for 7 days' service and the meat from his hunt. After joining the Aesir in a meal, a call to aid is heard. Conan and the Aesir arrive at a village that has been attacked by the Vanir. Conan aids in quenching the flames, offers his sword and vengeance, dons armor, its weight and bulk is commented on. He and the Aesir men head towards an eventual battle with the Vanir. In Kurt Busiek's Conan number 1 from Dark Horse Comics titled Out of the Darksome Hills, we see the following. Having left Cimmeria, Conan comes to the aid of a fair-haired maiden and her child. She and her village are beset upon by reavers from Vanheim. After vanquishing the Vanir, Conan is confronted by Njord, who also appears on horseback, and his band of Aesir as they return from their hunt. After accusations that he may be a spy and some ensuing violence, Conan's noble actions are recognized and he lends assistance to the chieftain and helps to save what's left of the burning village. Sharing a meal, Conan declares himself an allied. He's armored, its weight and bulk is commented on. He and the Aesir men head towards an eventual battle with the Vanir. Events between the two stories echo each other. Conan leaving Cimmeria, the Aesir encountered, Njord appearing on horseback, a village attacked, and allegiance declared, armor donned. It's the sequence and details of the events that differ, as if obscured by time or distorted in oral telling. As far as those lines that Jim Zub cribbed from Kurt Busiek, well, let's have a look. This text here on page 5 of Kurt Busiek's story, make war on women and children and call it blood feud, it hits a moral core that riles Conan up. Jim Zub integrates it into page 14 of issue 14, with Conan confirming his conviction for vengeance just prior to donning his battle armor. And on page 15 of issue number 14, Conan says of the armor, "This is not how Cimmerians fight, weighted down like this." On page 24 of Kurt Busiek's issue number 1, Conan says this of the armor, "It feels heavy, bulky. This is not how Cimmerians fight, weighted down like this." A final item of note is that in both issues there's an attractive young woman looking on as Conan dons the armor, saying, "You would think that he was born to it." Roy Thomas has written that anything outside of Robert E. Howard's canon can be considered rumors, and both Zub's and Kurt Busiek's stories are rumors, different rumors of the events in that period of Conan's life. Such vagaries over Conan's adventures breathe ever-renewed life into the character. We wonder which is the true story. What facts did each writer get correct? And is there another version of that story that remains untold? Conan lives in your head as you consider the real facts of his story, forgetting for the moment that he's a work of fiction. In issue number 14, Jim Zub has confidently reimagined the story of the events that led to Conan's presence on Northam's icy plain, and he's done so by respectfully mirroring elements of Kurt Busiek's work in Out of the Darksome Hills. Zub borrows certain words and moments, solidifying Busiek's myth-building while also introducing new vagaries over Conan's adventures in a manner that breathes ever-renewed life into the character. A noticeable change from the previous issue is the move to the Frost Giant daughter as the narrating voice. A surprising yet understandable shift from issue number 13, leaving me curious to see what choices Zub will make over the next 2 issues as he strives to give us something other than a simple retelling of Howard's classic story. Starkings and Smith present the daughter's fresh narrative voice in a frost blue script that possesses both a feminine and ancient spirit. It certainly highlights the change in narration and serves to add character to she who watchfully waits. Diego Rodriguez has fun throughout, playing blues against red, bringing Doug Braithwaite's blood-spackled, battle-fueled frost and fury to vivid life. And man, Braithwaite's panels, we get a solid 6 pages of brutal, appendage-severing action in a row. It's wild, it's Conan. We've got issues number 14 of Savage Sword of Conan releasing next week, Battle of the Black Stone the week after that, Fan Expo Canada is this weekend, plus we should finally see the new Omnis delivered in October. As always, everything's coming up Conan. Thanks for watching, liking, consider subscribing, and until next time, take it easy, you Stygian Dogs.